Dear Building Better Leaders, I've worked with American and Western multinationals since I graduated. So recently I joined a locally grown company that's still run by founding family, now in their third generation. I was hired as a senior manager to challenge ideas and give honest feedback, even upwards. I'm also expected to encourage my team to do the same. However, there's a strong emphasis on maintaining harmony, meaning not rocking the boat in my current workplace, and an underlying culture that values being agreeable, respectful, not challenging authority. As an Asian, I understand this. Now, I feel stuck between two value systems, Eastern versus Western. The team I inherited tends to say yes in meetings and avoid tough conversations. I sometimes feel like I'm leading in a vacuum. And when I do try to encourage more honest and dialogue to all accountability, I worry I come across as disrespectful or too Western. Now, how can I do my job well and lead authentically when the workplace culture I come from, one that values candor and transparency, seems to clash with this one, which prizes respect, hierarchy, to a certain aspect, saving face? Yeah, so where do we begin? This is quite interesting. Uh, yeah, any thoughts?
Yeah, I actually experience this a lot in my work as a culture consultant,
Okay.
especially with a lot of the SMEs where today it is the second or even the third generation who's taking over the business. And they've been, unlike the founding fathers, these younger generations probably been educated overseas, so they come back with a lot of Western values. And then there's
Hmm.
that clash. Um, so maybe the first thing where we can start off is instead of looking at is it Eastern or is it Western, that puts it into the realm where you're talking about something that's really very deep rooted, the values that are very deep rooted, and people are gonna resist and fight with all their might against the threat of am I losing my roots, my values that
Hmm.
my cultural roots, where I come from, and that just takes it into an area that is not going to be productive. What I advise my clients is to look at what is the culture that you currently have and what is the culture that you would like to shift it to. So how do we go from here to there? And no culture would be completely bad, and also no culture would be entirely good. So it is about looking at, in the current culture, what are some strengths that we have that we can build upon, and what are some new values that we want to add in so that we can create the shift that we want to have from being
Hmm.
very quiet, very traditional, passive, yes man, to something that's more innovative, more driven. So, what are the things that we need to shift? How's that for the
Okay.
starting point?
Okay. Uh, I don't have much experience in this line, but if I were to so-called coach this person,
Mm,
I would probably ask the question of like, I think it's very similar to what you said. I mean, what is the desired outcome
mm,
that we want, right? That's point B. And then also to acknowledge what is point A in this case. But I will challenge the person to kind of like define or kind of redefine their understanding, right? Because this person comes across, this letter writer comes across as Eastern versus Western,
mm,
right? It's almost like it is binary, like
mm.
it's either this or this,
Yeah.
right or wrong, east or west, this or that. In this case, I would probably number one, first of all, acknowledge that it is a tough situation, especially if all you know. I think the letter writer says that since this person has graduated, has been working in American and Western companies, right? Which they value candor and directness in this case. So I would acknowledge that this is a real tension for sure.
Mm,
But the second thing is also to re-establish again the reason why this person is hired. I think it mentioned in the letter that they were hired to challenge and give honest feedback. So to understand that that is the reason why they are there. right? And not to doubt about it. I think the question is just more of how to say it, or how to have that balance without coming across as, like you said, disrupting something which is rooted uh, for a long time, right? I would also ask this person, letter writer, as well. So what if we can do both, right? How would that look like, right? So instead of saying this or that, but let's say you can do both, right? Can you imagine how would it sound like? How would it look like? So I would kind of like coach the person from there onwards in this case, and to also acknowledge that it's actually a privilege to be a very different kind of leader, because not many people can actually kind of like straddle between, i.e. in this case, like both worlds in this, right? But if this person is able to do that, then this person will come across as will grow new skills in this case, or will build new skills, right? So yeah, I was probably start with that, asking this person, like, let's say you can do both. How would that sound like? How would that look like? And then I'll just take it from there.
What I would also do, adding on to that, is to lead a discussion on the definition of the values that has been brought up. So respect. Respect means different things to different people. Not only different
Mm,
culture, but different generations. For the boomers, respect means don't question, don't ask.
yeah.
But for the millennials, the Gen Ys and Gen Zs, respect means I want to understand your thought process. I want to know how you got there. So therefore, I will ask. So it's very different. And the best way to get alignment is to actually have a clear definition of what it would look like in this company. So values like respect, like challenging ideas, like honest
Mm,
feedback. How do you want people to behave? You come up with a list of behavior statements.
mm,
I had an interesting experience with a group of SME leaders last week. It was just last week. I was giving a talk on how do you operationalize your core values. And one of them had the core value of challenge. And the behavior statement that this leader wrote was, um, I speak my mind. I always speak my mind. So that for me raised certain alarm bells, because if
mm,
you have someone who is naturally vocal and the company's value is challenge and the behavior statement is I always speak my mind, there's going to be chaos. This
right.
person is going to think that, okay, I have license to shoot my mouth. So you actually need to moderate that and reword the behavior statement to say that I offer my opinions with respect, or I disagree with respect. I listen to understand, and I put forward a neutral point of view. So we need to moderate it and frame it in a way that is productive. And I think that this would help this letter writer to at least get started, work together with the team um, to define and to co-create what do the values actually mean, how do we want to align our behaviors so that while we while we still respect our traditional strengths, we are able to be more innovative, more creative, more agile, and move into the future that way.
Mm, okay. Um, I think that's great. That's the step number one, right? To be
Mm.
able to have clarity in terms of values. How about in those cases where there isn't any values to start off with? It's just, kind of like people have been practicing that unsaid stuff.
Mm.
So what are your thoughts about where do we even start with that? If there isn't like on the board to say challenge, there's no such thing, but
Mm.
there's this thing around the room. So what do you do with that?
Mm. Every company would have a set of values. It's whether it is spoken or unspoken. You
Mm-hmm.
will, whether it is deliberately planned or not, or by default, you will still have some kind of values. So maybe what this letter writer can do, or leaders who don't have values, is to spend some time with your management team, the leaders of the company, to try to call out what are the strengths, the inherent strengths in this company. If it is set up by uh, a a boomer founding father, chances are the values would be hard work, commitment, loyalty, uh, never cutting corners, integrity. This could be the bedrock of what has made that company good. So, how would you build on that, and what would you like to add in to take the company into the future?
Okay, got you.
And
Um, to as you were saying that, something triggered me as well. So of course, sometimes when we do this, we would take some time, right?
mm,
To define what is the culture in this case, and the so-called the behavioral statements that comes along with it. Sometimes it may take time but that's important from a corporate standpoint. So everyone's very clear of what it is, right? But what can this person do almost immediately is to be able to understand, to change the approach on leading with questions rather than leading with statements in this case, right? So what I mean by that is that to learn how to ask, to not like candor here sometimes may come across as a bit like, oh, I don't agree with you, right? Instead of that, to reframe that, to kind of say that I hear where you're coming from. I wonder if there's another way of doing this. So this kind of questions it still retains the kind of respect for the other person, but yet you're also challenging them to rethink again, of their approach. So it can also sound something like, if you were in my shoes, how would you redo this, or how would you do this, instead of like, I don't agree with you, right? So I think that is something which can come across as too rude lah in this case. I think it's important to be able to still have that kind of candor, that directness in this case, but yet it is wrapped up in language which the the company can understand, right? In this case, or how should I say, to be direct but yet wrapped up in a very indirect sort of language. You know what I'm trying to say. So,
tactful
so
and respectful.
yes,
Yeah,
tactful, respectful.
yeah,
Yes, that's the word. Yeah.
yeah. This is actually a skill. So for any company that wants to make this kind of a transition, we need to be mindful that it's not just about telling people that, okay, you used to do A, now I want you to do B. But what is the skill that you need to empower you to do B in a way that is productive and appropriate for the company? So in this case, it could be, if you want people to challenge ideas, maybe you need to equip people with critical thinking skills, communication skills. How do you, or coaching skills? How do you phrase statements? How do you phrase your disagreements? If you want your people to actually have more ideas and challenge status quo, maybe you need to even give them like debating skills, problem solving skills. And how you can do it is gradually, step by step, in small baby steps. Maybe just start off with once a week, 15 minutes after your work in progress meeting. All right, guys, let's review something radical, and let's see who can ask questions about this radical idea. And that gradually builds the skill and builds people's confidence to ask questions in a way that is appropriate for the company. It's a skill and it can be learned.
Right, right. That also got me thinking. Um, I think it was, I can't remember what's the theory, but in essence, in order to change the entire company, I think we always have this thought about, like, we run it like a marketing campaign, which means like we just determine what are the direction, what are the values, what are the vision, and so on. Then we like, boom, let's get everybody. They put them into a weekend, and then try to figure things out, right, together and so on. I think yes, from an awareness standpoint, because me coming from a marketing background, yes, from an awareness standpoint, is how it would look like in this case. But to see actual real transformation itself, it starts off with a very small group of people,
Mm-hmm.
those who buy in this case, right? Then I think it's very important then to be able to identify who are these so-called team who is practicing this, who bites the idea of what you're trying to preach in this case, or where you want to go in this case, and then because from then onwards, just like anything else, the others will then follow this group of people, right? This small group of people, instead of like having I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I think it's good for awareness, but to see the actual transformation itself is to actually kind of like band in a group of people, or is there a word for it from a culture standpoint, like a culture cheerleader, in this case, like a group of people, not very big, let's say in a group of let's say the whole company is 200 people. We're talking about like 5-10 people to start off with, right? So from then onwards, then it kind of like they will model how it looks like, then people will kind of like follow. Yeah, I think, not too sure what's your thoughts on that approach.
In my experience, I have come across companies who have done this. The challenge is that these people are usually the bright sparks in the company, and when they are asked to be the culture champions, they will go all out. However, their bosses are going to feel left out. Their bosses are going to sometimes even feel resentful and may block their efforts. So what we would recommend is that whether you like it or not, the most effective way is to cascade it from top down. It has to start with the CEO, the senior management modeling it. Then you get the next level of leaders, the next level of leaders, because they are the ones who have authority. So it may not be the easiest thing to get their buy-in, but it is worth it, because when they make the shift, it will automatically trickle down to the rest of their teams, rest of their department. So equip the leaders with the skills first. Then they won't feel that they are left
Okay.
out or left behind.
Got it. So as you're saying that, I am reminded of this company which I was exposed to many years ago, uh, it's quite similar actually. Come to think about it, it's been around for a long time, and now it's the third generation or fourth generation running it. Nevertheless, so they are pretty aggressive. They want to grow internationally. And so they hired some very big guns from the industry, like the who and who of marketing and who and who of operations and so on, to join them to have this transformation. Pay them a lot of money and all, but within 6 months or a year, all these people left. Reason being the even though it is now currently run by the fourth generation in this case, but yet the founding father, not founding fathers, but at least the third generation or even second generation is still there, right? The shadow is still there. They still come to board meetings and all, right? And like what you said just now, I mean, it's like yeah, I mean the new generation wants to make change, but yet there are also some old guards who is not willing to take that risk, right? To change, because all this while is working. Why do it now? So I think there's a lot of frustration with this group of new hires. So as a result of that, they said like, yeah, okay, I mean, I can't fully do my work here when there is this kind of culture, right? Which I have to tiptoe around. So so I think, yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I am reminded that it needs to start from the top line in this case, and not just a good idea from HR or good idea from the fourth generation in this case. Okay. Um, I think my last thing I would probably want to be able to mention to this letter writer is that let's not be distracted also to a certain extent. What does the business need? Right? That this person is being hired to be able to deliver on the business in this case. And I think those are business priorities, and not to be too flustered and distracted with like, oh, should I do the Eastern way or the Western way in this case, but to be able to sometimes talk to the stakeholders and talk to the people who are responsible, to say that, okay, look, we need to deliver on this business result by a certain X date in this case, right? I acknowledge the elephant in the room. You probably will approach it very differently, and I will approach it very differently. And as we are trying to sort out the way we work, we still have to deliver on this piece, right? On this business result in this case. So let's co-create, let's collaborate. What can we do, right? I think that is that will help, right? Rather than like, should I, wrap my candle with indirect, with tech and so on. Yes, as we will try to work on that. But if you were to be too overly distracted with this, we don't get the job done, right? The business part of things. I would probably use the business as a reason to work out our differences as well. To say that, hey, let's put this piece of challenge on the table. I acknowledge where you're coming from, the way you do it, this is how I do it. But ultimately, we have to deliver on this piece, right? So let's figure out what should we do about it. So I think that gives a lot of clarity, objectivity. We still have to agree to disagree, whatever, but ultimately we have to deliver on this business priority. This is probably what I will also advise this letter writer to do as well.
That collaborative effort is really going to go a long way to get people to have ownership, where they don't feel that change is being imposed, but they are co-creating the future of the company together.
Okay. So what are we telling the letter writer? Okay, you gotta help me out in this. So
Okay.
this is what I picked up, right? So step one is to kind of like understand that sometimes there are unspoken or even spoken values, right? To be able to drive the clarity of these values. So this letter writer can kind of like have conversations with the higher ups to kind of say that, look, I think it's important that there needs to be some kind of alignment with the company. So when we say that, for example, we are a challenger, so what does that really mean from a behavioral standpoint, right? So to be able to articulate and to be able to document this, very important to say that this is what are the 3 or 4 things, values that we stand for, and these are the behavioral statements that accompanies it.
Yeah.
But we don't even stop there as well. We also kind of get the letter writer to also say, it's also important then to be able to create the step-by-step on how to show up, on how to behave this way, and not just say behave this way, but what does it really mean, right? So to be able to have to take baby steps, to be very gradual in saying that now if you want to be a challenger in this case, what does that mean? So which means then you can, what kind of new skills is needed? So like you said, is it equipping them with debate skills? Is it equipping them with critical thinking? And also that they can understand, they can try it out in bite-sized baby steps. So then they will start to see that change, and they'll start to see results. And then when there's results, then results beget results. In this case, it's all the small steps in this way. And that's what I captured actually. And of course, the last thing I think I mentioned just now as well is to, as all these things take time, I think it's also very important that the letter writer, let's not be distracted with all these things. As yes, you have to deal with this, but I think it's also important that the writer also needs to be able to deliver on the results, right? Then to have conversations with the different stakeholders to say, to acknowledge, yes, there could be some differences in how we approach this, but we still have to deliver on this business priority or this business direction anyway. So how should we approach this? But to actually take that as an opportunity to work on differences actually, as I think about it. So it's not just let's sit and talk about differences, but more of like, let's use this as a reason to work on our differences. So I think this is also a very good opportunity as well. I think all in all, I think the letter writer shouldn't be looking things at very binary, east or west, but should be the bridge instead to these two worlds. And if they can bridge this, then I think this letter writer will be a very different kind of leader, which is going to be very valuable to be able to be able to straddle this so-called IE two worlds. Anything to add on, Janet?
How I would sum it up is 3 C's. The
Okay.
first C is clarity. Without clarity, you cannot get alignment. So it's important to have clarity of
Agree.
what is it that you want to have. The second C is co-creation. Discuss that together with the team so that you are co-creating something together to take the company forward into the future. The third C is competence. Make sure that your people
Wow.
have the right skills to be able to deliver. 3 C's.
Okay. Clarity, co-creation, and
Competence.
competence.